thank you with love. It just is for you alone. The walks we took among the stars, the words were few as we sailed through the cosmic sea with the clasp of our hands. We became one where the foot of man has never trod, and only soul can journey. I'm thankful for these moments you shared with me this night. Your unselfishness goes beyond time and space. I thank you with love. It just is for you alone. For we have sailed the cosmic sea of life.
Thank you with love. It just is for you alone, you alone. The walks we took among the stars, the words were few as we sail through the cosmic sea with the clasp of our hands.
We became one where the foot of man has never trod, and only soul can journey. I'm thankful for these moments you shared with me this night. Your unselfishness goes beyond time and space. I thank you with love. It just is for you alone. For we have sailed the cosmic sea of life. For it just is. To understand the Master's words, let the Spirit of Ek flow through. It must be free to flow through you, to share its wisdom from the heavens above. The fruits of the Spirit, the gifts of God. Most souls are seeking peace, health, love, joy, and prosperity. The timid never find true love and happiness, but the bold do. Kneel before the Spirit in true humbleness and say, I surrender my will to you, O Lord. Do what you will with me. Let your mind dwell in the sea of spirit, to be lifted above your daily problems. Then you are in this world, but not of it. Once grasp the great form without form, and you roam where you will, with no evil to fear. Calm, peaceful, and at ease, with Eckankar.
The Master's words, let the Spirit of Ek flow through. It must be free to flow through you, to share its wisdom from the heavens above. The fruits of the Spirit, the gifts of God. Most souls are seeking peace, health, love, joy, and prosperity. The timid never find true love and happiness, but the bold do. Kneel before the Spirit in true humbleness and say, I surrender my will to you, O Lord.
Do what you will with me. Let your mind dwell in the sea of spirit, to be lifted above your daily problems. Then you are in this world, but not of it. Once grasp the great form without form, and you roam where you will, with no evil to fear. Calm, peaceful, and at ease, with Eckankar.
With Eckankar. With Eckankar.
I'd like to pass on the feeling of great joy I found in Eckankar. For those who have ears to hear, for I too have had a longing deep inside, never knowing where to hide, for one day up, the next day down. No longer am I tied to this earth world, its troubles or woe. I have no fear of death no more, since on the path of Ek, greater is he that ruleth his own spirit than taketh a city. For inward rulership is the mastery of the masters. This too can be yours. For those at the grassroots and those in doubt who just don't understand, let your ears hear these few words. Give no thought of where you are, for the Master is always with you. in soul you can be free.
We'd like to pass on the feeling of great joy we found in Eckankar, for those who have ears to hear, for we too have had a longing deep inside, never knowing where to hide, for one day up, the next day down.
No longer are we tied to this earth world, its troubles a woe.
We have no fear of death no more,
Sings on the path of air.
Greater is he that ruleth his own spirit, and taketh a city, for inward rulership is the mastery of the masters. This too can be yours. For those at the grassroots and those in doubt who just don't understand, let your ears hear these few words. Give no thought of where you are, for the Master is always with you. For in soul you can be free. You can be free. Oh, How I Love Thee was inspired by the writings of Paul Twitchell, primarily The Flute of God. The song flowed and was written within 5 minutes. After it had been written, there was one line that I wished to change. It was, I'd be like a fallen leaf you see. I was going to change that to a grain of sand. I was working at an electronics plant in the Northwest at that particular time and was walking with a small box of components into the engineering building. There was no breeze, and all the leaves of the trees had fallen and had been raked up. Where this one leaf came from, I know not where. It dropped into the box of components. That evening, I rushed home and put that line back into the lyrics. I'd be like a fallen leaf you see. Those who have the ears to hear the message within this song will be raised in a state of consciousness. Oh, how I love thee, blessed Suman, with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. Oh, how I thank thee for thy presence, for I know thou art always with me. For I thank thee for thy light and sound to lead me homeward bound. I'd be like a fallen leaf you see, just bouncing all around. For the love I have for Suman goes forth a radiant hue. For I've come a long, long way from home, it's true. Oh, how I thank thee, blessed Suman, for thy true words, the Shabda sound.
With all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. Oh, how I thank thee for thy presence, for I know thou art always with me.
For I thank thee for thy light and sound to lead me homeward bound. I'd be like a for Sugmod goes forth a radiant hue. For I've come a long, long way from home, it's true. Oh, how I thank thee, blessed Sugmod, for thy true words, the Shabda sound.
Oh, how I love thee, blessed Lord.
Stranger by the River by Paul Twitchell. A poetic book of sublime dialogue between Rebbe Zartars and Pedar Zvask, his Chila, on the banks of the Jehalem River that flows past the city of Seringar in the ancient land of Kashmir. The questions raised by the Chila are those of every man. The answers given are those of the secret knowledge of God by the great Ekmaster, Rebbe Zartars. The divine light of brilliantly throughout the pages of this marvelous work. Those who read this God-inspired book will be moved to great spiritual heights. The vast knowledge of Ekankar, the ancient science of soul travel, is revealed throughout its pages by the majestic voice of the Sugmad, speaking through its divine instrument, Rebbe Zartars, the great adept of the ancient order of the Variag. The poetry, sheer beauty, and magnificent wisdom revealed page after page is great as the sacred literature of the ancient races. It can be more compared with Gibran, the prophet, William Blake's mystical 18th century poems, and the Book of Revelations. It is an esoteric writing which gives an inner truth so all can understand. The chapter, The Law of the Self. The seeker moved along the riverbank, restlessly wondering at his state of mind. The great stream flowed past, murmuring its song in a beautiful melody, washing against the sandy shore. Boats moved along the broad surface of the river, while the brilliant sunlight glistened upon the water, dripping from slushing wheels. Melodious whistles echoed in the high hills, and far down the shore he saw the levee where the white, graceful boats were pushing against the docks, and men moving busily, loading them. He turned to the Guru and said, "How can you think of life to be more than what it is this moment, when a pattern of love and joy rushes into this world of mine to find it empty? In the night, I found my beloved sleeping at my side, dreaming of a world lightly touched with love. Gently, she felt my hand and touched her and passed it to her side. Can life be more than this, O Master? Tell me, my teacher." The great river, with its sounds of flowing water and dreamy noise of whistles, went through his mind as though a part of himself. He saw the land that lay with the gallant, misty blue haze across the mountains and shores. The Tibetan said, "Ah, you seek the higher self through the Ek. Thy first individual desire is always the determinative factor in thy experience, the first cause of all creative thinking, and God-seeking is the initial choice of thought. The initial choice of thought creates its own godlike circumstances and conditions. Thy experience is nothing less than thy own choices and thoughts made visible. The creative order of God is always moving from the spiritual plane to the mental, into circumstances and conditions. Yes, sire, but today I caught a glimpse of that oversoul in eternity. I have seen the struggle of mankind and the very control of their earth world, destiny by individuals who have control of their lives and the power currents. Smiling, the Mahanta replied, "Thy vision has overlooked the fact that the soul is mightier than space, stronger than time, deeper than the sea, and higher than the stars. The Word of God is bread and wine for the struggling. No man can hold his fellow man under his petty self, for someday God appears, and all the little desires and will powers of the lower self are dried up like a puddle of water in the hot sunlight. Those who have been withheld from God go forward to it, and the soul who had the control must learn a lesson. Thus, I am a stranger to man in this world, and he looks not to me, but to the gaining of power. Yet I love this world. So I ask you, my son, what spiritual food have you stored up for thy journey into the worlds beyond after you leave this world? Now I speak to thee in riddles, but to the ears of those who can hear the truth, nothing I say is a riddle. My words are the truth and are timeless. There is nothing ordinary about the Word of God, and to the seeker of God, I speak the Word of God. Therefore, I say any words spoken in the name of God give the message of the divine cause. So listen and understand. Be content and let thy mind go like the river you see before thine eyes, which is always flowing onward, forward to the ocean, and yet is untouched by anything. Life is like that river, a continuation, birth upon birth, and death upon death, only in different acts as the separating influence. Neither love nor hate, but remain self-contained, living always for God. You yourself are your own problem. You must understand and act to solve the mystery of God. This is the law of the self, the law of God. Therefore, I tell you not to take up the seeking of God until the little self within thee is conquered and solved. Do not lay claim to salvation as long as gossip still appeals to thee, so long as you are more disturbed by the faults of others than thine own. So long as you can still excuse thine own weakness and shift thine own blame to another, you have not settled the problem of the little self. Rebbe Zartar said again, I am someone from thy past, now settled in thee. Do not be afraid. I am a part of thyself. My wisdom is beyond the conception of the mortal senses. Learn Ek. It is the true way. Be wise and follow the path of Ek. The silence fell around them, and the river water lapped softly at the shores in a gentle music that penetrated the seeker, going deeper into the mystic center of his heart. Purity. What is purity, sire? Asked the seeker, watching an old crane fishing along the sleepy, willowed point of the island where slushed eddies whirled past. Purity is the truth of the soul dwelling in God, my son, replied Rebbe Zar, walking up to the side of the seeker. When man purifies his consciousness, then he begins to walk the path of God in a straightforward manner via the path of Ek. If you seek the things of this world, then you will be in darkness, although you may have plenty of material things. But what does it profit a man to gain possessions of the whole world and lose thee soul. The seeker shook his head. I do not know the mysteries of the beyond, O sire. Please teach me. The Tibetan smiled and spoke. Time after time, God sends its supreme Son into the world to revive the often forgotten Parvidya, meaning the God knowledge, and emphasizing its importance to man. But man forgets God. He does not realize that it is a matter of common knowledge and experience, that light comes from light, and life from life. God is both light and life. It is the source of both, and all living creatures live in it, and their light comes from it. So I tell you that if you seek the light in this world, then this world will become light for thee, and all the darkness of the earth and its illusions will vanish. The God's voice will speak to thee, each word filled with the divine wisdom and understanding, and you will transcend all things in this world. God only can give the light to those who are pure in heart. Until you drop the barrier of thy ego, the light will not reach thee. No message can be given thee, and it is a waste of effort for the teacher to attempt it. Truth is but a spear, and those who are not ready for the truth of God will wound themselves upon its point. Therefore, I say unto you that if you are not purified, then you are not true to thyself, and unable to give the truth to others. Therefore, any man who desires to give the truth or do the work of God must first be truthful and true to that divine self within him. Purity, for the highest within man, cannot slander, nor can you see the evil in others. If you look for the good in those around thee, then you will bring out the good within them, and make thy neighbor manifest his good qualities. Dwell upon the good within thy neighbor, and thus you will exalt the good in him, and bring out the good in thyself. Thy good qualities will not come forth unless you see them in the world about you. Do not listen to one who preaches or acts with evil, lest you should bring about thine own undoing. For the fault lies within thyself, for listening to that teacher. Open thyself to receive evil, and in doing so become one with him who preaches evil. Yea, I tell you, that it is true. There are rogues among the spiritual orders, but it is thy fault if you will find favor with them. Use thy discrimination and mingle only with the good. Then you will purify thyself. So do not desire that for others which you do not desire for yourself. For then you bring to yourself that which is not a part of soul, and you will not be given anything. That is a part of thyself. Take the shortcut to God, and give of thyself to all. To be pure, then become humble and meek before thy God and thy neighbor. Praise the good qualities in all thy fellow creatures, and you will become exalted. For God gives only to those who live for his fellow man. To become pure, you must do 3 things. First, chant the holy names of God constantly upon thy lips. Secondly, do everything in the name of the Sugmad, thy father. And third, love the Sugmad with all thy passion, and also thy neighbor. These 3 spiritual practices will make thee pure, my son. If you know these spiritual truths and fail to practice them, it is like one who has lighted the lantern and closed his eyes to the light. So I tell you that you are the light, and to learn spiritual truths, but leave them not in thy mind to be practiced, but manifest and act upon the spiritual truths as I teach you here, for it does you little good to think spiritual truths unless you put them into spiritual action. These spiritual truths will make thee pure and transform thy life if you will do as I say. So listen to me. The pure light of the spiritual consciousness is the true light of God. This is the light which is given man by God. The God-man, the true sons of the Supreme Lord, are the fortunate who can dwell in the light at all times. The communion between God and its true sons is continuous. You see? The Tibetan took a seat under the tree and closed his eyes. The seeker watched the crane fishing off the point of the island and pondered the words of the Master.